9:10. The board meeting is officially in session. Every Thursday, we bring in experts, talking heads, highfalutins, and all-around St. Louis gadflies to chew on the fat of the day. And you can certainly listen to us on the radio. You can listen to us on your phone. Download the KTRS app, which is great. No fuddling through 8,000 other radio stations. Just hit the button and KTRS shows up in crystal clear technology. You can watch us at KTRS.com with our new and improved website. Also at STLtoday.com because we are the official morning show of our St. Louis hometown newspaper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Tony Messenger, the editorial page editor of our hometown newspaper, called in. He's on assignment. And John Deal, last-minute scratch. It turned out he weighed in and he was 1 pound overweight, so he's a late scratch.
He's out.
So we have two assembled today, which good. It'll give us more time to tell people how smart we are. Ladies and gentlemen, that voice is the former chief of staff of Governor Holden, local attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, she's known as Jane Dueker. Jane, good morning.
Good morning, McGraw.
And what's that shirt you're wearing?
Oh, see, there's a great website called Missouri is Awesome. Which is true.
Wait a minute, MissouriIsAwesome.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have spectacular T-shirts, so I'll be rolling those out because I, of course, had to purchase some. Mm-hmm. And this one is spectacular because it says that St. Louis, right here, is the patron saint of awesome.
Aha.
So,
just out of curiosity, do you have any financial incentive in this?
No,
website?
I just saw the T-shirts and I thought, oh, this is great. I love my St. Louis and my Missouri pride, so I bought them.
MissouriIsAwesome.com.
Absolutely.
How many T-shirts do you have?
3. I've got 3 so far, and we'll be rolling them out.
Nice to see that you're a highfalutin lawyer and you're wearing around T-shirts and at courthouse.
It's an image.
Also with us is bringing up the being respectable today, as always. He's a local attorney, filmmaker, former politician, reform politician, all-around great guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Kanzler on the Big 550 KTRS. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, McGraw. Hey, Jane.
Yeah, good to see you.
And what's that T-shirt you're wearing? Oh, I'm sorry, you're wearing a collared shirt.
A button-down.
Like a true professional.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, the numbers are in. 26,000 have enrolled in the federal website. 79,000 have enrolled in 14 different state websites. In Missouri, the Obamacare has signed up 751 people. Jane Dueker, what are your thoughts on this first benchmark of the new Affordable Care Act here in America?
Well, I mean, it's not good. I mean, the numbers are not good. I think the debacle sort of on the rollout didn't help. I think, we've talked about this before, the idea that they've not messaged this properly, really haven't gone to the public in a way that would,
Democrats,
incentivize them.
At one point, when do the Democrats, because you're starting to hear a little rumblings, they're getting beaten up, they might come to the microphone and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to change and do and delay. And
well,
whatever.
I think that's the big number. I hate to interrupt. The big number out of all of this is 2014. That's when these guys in Congress start having to
be elected.
Right. And that's a huge deal right now.
Right. And I hope for good policy's sake that the focus becomes on the drumbeat to get it fixed and get it working and get people out there, as opposed to saying, okay, the website doesn't work and people are freaked out, and so we're just going to shut it all down.
Because the thing, people have insurance, okay? They're getting letters in the mail saying, this insurance policy is no longer acceptable, so we're canceling your insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Where do I go and get insurance? Even though that might be bad insurance, that's some insurance they have. They at least have peace of mind. Let's go to healthcare.gov and buy new health insurance. They can't even buy the new health insurance. So at what point does the federal government say, hey, wait a minute, we have to delay this because we're canceling your policies and we're not giving you the ability to buy new ones?
Well, I mean, I think this is the deal. They either have to act with more due haste than they're acting now to fix the problem, or they are going to turn this into a bigger issue than it is. I mean, this is the problem. These kinds of issues, which have an effect on people signing up and have an effect, will jeopardize the entire program. Not because it's bad policy, but because the rollout has been so abysmal. But at some point, you can't really, begrudge people for saying, if you can't get this part of it right, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the system. And so, to me, Democrats and others who believe in this plan ought to step up and say, okay, guys, we got to fix it, and we got to fix it now. We can't talk anymore. We can't, be deliberate. This is a point at which Obama's got to sort of step out of his normal personality and say, now. It's got to be fixed, and you people need to fix it.
And that may be coming today. There was an article in the New York Times today that there is a vote in the House tomorrow on a bill that proposes changes to Obamacare, and the Democrats have been showing up at the White House saying, listen,
Right.
President, you either get us something by tomorrow morning, Friday morning, or you are forcing us to support these bills so that our folks back home that are having their insurance canceled, and I am one of those people, that we don't go back to them and have to explain to them why they don't have insurance.
Well, and the other thing is, too, which, I think if the Republicans are getting smarter, which I think they sort of are, instead of doing this, abandon it, because, they've done that 38 times and it's gotten them nowhere. And frankly, I don't think the public cares. But when the Republicans come in and say, okay, we want to change the bill to address specific problems that are known to the public, well, then they start to look like policymakers, and they're likely to get more people to follow them, including Democrats and including the public.
Let's talk locally here. We're starting to see hospitals announce layoffs. We're starting to see hospitals announce closings. We're starting to see a real rub here between the money we're turning down from Washington, D.C.
Right.
and the effects. And as Jane Dueker, you know this very well, and you can probably speak to this, since we're changing the way we fund insurance, indigent care and non-insurance care payments to hospitals are going away because those people are being moved to Medicare and Medicaid. And so if that money's going away and we don't accept this federal money,
Correct. Perfect storm on all health
they're
care
going to have to start laying off people and
Correct.
in hospitals, which is what we're starting to see.
Well, and that's the problem with Missouri. The problems with the exchanges, I mean, that's a separate issue, and I've spoken with the problems on that. But the idea of not expanding Medicaid for free, and the most the state would ever have to pay is 10% in order to keep access in rural hospitals and to prevent hospitals from having to lay off because of the perfect storm, those issues can be and should be separated. And that is, that is, we are cutting off our nose to spite our face in Missouri. And they think that they're hurting Obamacare, and whatever they think they might be doing by doing this, what they're doing is they're jeopardizing health care.
But we're starting to see hospitals.
Absolute effects. And they told them that this was going to happen. And, we've been at this for a year and a half, and people were told, and they've said, no, anything that's attached to Obamacare, we are not going to do. So that this is real. It's real effects. This care, people can't afford people going to the emergency room for strep throat. I mean, that's just not the way to run a railroad. But unfortunately, our hospitals are seeing that. And without payments, without being able to afford that charity care, access is going to be a problem.
Are we going to see rural Missouri devastated by this?
Yes, more so than the urban areas. The urban areas, I mean, we have a very strong healthcare system, especially in St. Louis, and I know that I'm biased, but and you're going to see layoffs, which is awful. But in rural Missouri, you're going to see closure of facilities, and access, meaning you have to travel an hour to get to see a heart specialist. I mean, that's not going to be good for the health of Missourians.
Jay Kanzler.
Well, two things. First of all, there is no such thing as free health care. People keep talking, we're getting this,
It's free to them.
It's
We're
free to
paying for
them.
It's free to them. It's not free.
The insured population's paying for it.
Absolutely. And it's not just, so we say, Washington's going to pay for the Medicaid expansion in Missouri. Well, Washington gets their money from us.
Absolutely.
So it is not free. There is no such thing as free health care.
But the problem that isn't highlighted to people, my taxes go up less than my insurance premiums. Right now, the insured population, Medicaid is not for the, quote, deadbeats. Medicaid is for the insured population because we're paying for it anyway. And it's cheaper to put somebody on Medicaid for a year than it is to pay, $8,000 every time they show up in the emergency room. Because until, as a society, we are prepared to say we're going to let people die in the emergency room, then we have to suck it up and say there is a better way. No, it's not free, but it's cheaper.
Here's bottom exit question here. Why can't I go to a reputable health insurance company that a plan is approved by the federal government and buy it from them? Why do I have to go to this website? Why can't I just go directly to the bookstore to buy the book? Why do I have to go through the website?
Well, I mean, I think the idea, and it's funny because it was an idea that was actually championed by Governor Blunt in 2007, 2008. It's more of a consumer protection mechanism, and it's a clearinghouse. I'm not sure that that's the worst idea. because the bottom line is you want to steer people toward the insurance, and if the website is what's inhibiting that, then maybe we do need to think about a different way to do it. But the bottom line is you got to get these people to insurance, and otherwise we're going to keep paying for it, the people who do have it.
All right, that's Jane Dueker. Jake Kanzler's with us. Jake, when you come back, you want to talk Larry Flint and the death penalty, which is an interesting story going on here in Missouri. 9:20 here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Live in the morning on KTRS. This hour is presented by Weber Chevrolet, with 4 locations to serve you. Online at weberchevrolet.com.
9:25. Jay Kanzler is with us. Jay, Larry Flint has put his nose directly into Missouri politics, making comments about our death penalty process.
Yes, he has. Mr. Flint, the magazine publisher and purveyor of goods and services on the east side and elsewhere, has now filed suit in Kansas City in federal court with the intent of disrupting the death penalty, the scheduled execution of the gentleman, Joseph Franklin, who was convicted of murdering a gentleman outside of a Richmond Heights synagogue back in 1977.
Also the same person who shot Larry Flint.
He did shoot Larry Flint, paralyzed Mr. Flint. He's also been convicted, I believe, of 8 other murders and is suspected in...
He's a bad guy. There's no question about it.
He is, and he's a white supremacist, and the whole reason he shot Larry Flint was that Hustler magazine had published interracial photos in their magazine. Mr. Flint has now filed a motion saying, hey, you say you're supposed to have an anesthesiologist perform this execution. The American Board of Anesthesiology says that a member should not participate in an execution. The point being made is, well, if your organization says you shouldn't participate in an execution, you're either not certified or you don't have the qualifications to be a member of the Board of Anesthesiology. And really, this goes back to the whole issue before, when it was 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when they were talking about what the drug was going to be. It was
right.
propofol. Lawsuits were filed, information put out there that propofol was about to be used, and the manufacturers, the U.S. manufacturers of propofol, then all started screaming, saying, give us back our propofol. You're not supposed to have it. You can't use it. Now, Missouri said that's fine. They sent the propofol back, but they're going to use pentobarbital, which is what is commonly used to put down animals as part of the execution.
So Larry Flint does not want this person executed because he's against the death penalty, and is throwing up the idea that this doctor isn't who he says he is, and that you can't use a non-qualified doctor whose organization says he shouldn't do what he's doing, so the state of Missouri is keeping his name anonymous.
That's right, and here's what Larry Flint says. This is what he'd like to do to Mr. Franklin. He said, I'd love to have some time alone with him with a pair of wire cutters and pliers so I could inflict the same damage on him that he inflicted on me.
Does Larry Flint have a point?
Does he have a point in that the anesthesiologist may or may not be certified by the American Board of Anesthesiologists? I don't know. The state says that he is. I'm willing to trust them, quite frankly.
You're willing to trust the state? Mark the date and time that Jay Kanzler wants to trust the state. Okay,
I'm willing to
government.
trust the state on this because I have no concern for Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin has probably murdered up to 20 people. He is a very bad person. The state of Missouri has time and time and time again said that we will impose the death penalty. Whether or not the person that's going to inject this drug is board certified as an anesthesiologist causes me to lose no sleep.
Jane Dueker.
Okay, so, I mean, I believe in the death penalty. I actually, my first day on the job in the governor's office, actually supervised an execution. And you wonder if being in that sort of circumstance would change your mind about the process. And it was an ugly one. I mean, we called it off at 1 minute to midnight, and he was executed later that day. And it was probably the most challenging night of my life. 7 months pregnant, supervising an execution. Wow. So, I mean,
that actually explains that's a little insight into Jane
yeah,
Dueker.
Exactly. Think about that. But what I also think is that, I don't have any problem with the state of Missouri not disclosing who the executioners are. Absolutely. That's, these people would get death threats. You would never get it done. I think that if Missouri says this guy's licensed, because, being part of the board is your license. It's like the Missouri bar. I mean, that's your license, and if you're not a part, you can't practice medicine. So if the state of Missouri says his license is valid, he gets to do it. I wish that the state, we're bound and determined to execute people, and I don't have a problem with that, and Missouri has never been accused of executing an innocent man, and Missouri has done it judiciously and has done it, sparingly, and in cases, sort of like this, that people feel at least that it's appropriate if you believe in it. But I do think Missouri needs to get it together. Get your protocol straight, figure out what you can and can't do, and get it done. Because each time, the policies aren't stable, people are going to challenge. There are people who do not believe in the death penalty. They're going to file whatever lawsuit. They're going to do whatever they can do, and they feel that passionate about it. We can't be surprised that there are people out there. So we need to get our policy. If we're going to keep issuing writs of execution, then get your policies together.
Here's my problem with it all. Why, because you're the chief of staff of a governor, do you get to witness an execution done in the name of the people of Missouri, and me, as member of John Q. Public, couldn't watch?
Well, first
you're
of all,
doing it in my name, right? It's a state act. Mm-hmm. And if you send an email on your state computer telling somebody you want to go to lunch, I have access to that email. Mm-hmm. But you want to execute somebody, I'm not allowed to watch?
Okay, well, first of all, unless you've been involved, this isn't some badge of honor.
No.
Whatever. But I think that I don't think it's illegitimate for a state to say that we're not going to turn this into the Missouri Hunger Games and have executions be out there for the mobs and the. I don't think it's inappropriate.
If I don't trust the
unconstitutional.
if I don't trust the government to administer health insurance, why should I trust the government to execute somebody? Which is the most important thing. It should be open for all to see. This man's name, who is putting the drugs into the body, he should be known. This is the most.
No, that's ridiculous.
He's doing it in the name of the
matter.
people of Missouri.
When people testify in criminal trials, they're doing it in the name of the state because they are testifying and trying to put a criminal away, and we protect their safety. Disclosing this guy's name or any of the team's name, including the corrections officers, including anybody involved in this situation, will get death threats. The state is entitled to protect their safety and prevent them from getting hurt. As to whether this should be a public viewing, there are many state things that aren't fully public. Courts close courtrooms all the time. The presumption is that it's open, but there are reasons why those kinds of things can be closed.
What's the reason for this not to be open?
I think turning the death penalty, which is a very serious, a very final remedy, sparingly used, you shouldn't turn it into the Missouri Hunger Games. I think putting it out there in the public square, which is what you're advocating.
That's exactly right.
I think is inappropriate.
I think that the mere fact that it is so important, the mere fact that it is the ultimate decision, the mere fact that the state is doing it in my name, saying don't worry about it, we'll do it correctly, don't you worry about it, it goes against everything that an open government should be doing. They're doing it in the name of justice and for me, the Missouri versus the people, right? Or
there are a lot of interests that are involved in executing someone, and the public is one of them, and I agree with that.
But the people...
Go ahead. So, no, I just think the idea that we glorify killing
the victim's
is
parents
not
can watch the family of the...
And there have to be a certain amount of witnesses to deal with the issue that you're talking about, to make sure that it's done properly.
Right.
There have to be witnesses.
I just think it's wrong. Last comment, Jay Kanzler.
I think, going back to Jane's comment, it seems to me kind of puzzling that the state can't seem to get their act together on the procedures. On the other hand, for every policy that's put in place, the ACLU and others find a new way of attacking it.
Absolutely.
So it is kind of a moving target.
It is. And the courts have not been helpful.
No, they have not. But they continue to say we can execute people that are convicted murderers that are found by a jury under those aggravated and exceptional circumstances. And, like I said, if for those people that are opposed to it, as you guys on the left like to say, win more elections.
Well, and I've said I'm for it. I've been there for one. I get it.
I wish I had the same opportunity. quite frankly.
That creeps me out for you.
Not that I would want to, and not that I would, but if you're doing it why should you have the right?
It's not absolute. None of that is absolute.
Well, I understand that, but you got to see what the state did.
I didn't get to. I had to. I had no interest in doing it.
Some people do have an interest. Other people don't have an interest.
Right. But, I mean, I think it's fair not to turn it into Hunger Games.
Charge $19.95 per viewer and put it into Obamacare to pay for it.
Oh, my God. That's so creepy.
Coming up next, that's Jane Dueker. That's Jay Kanzler. Up next, document shredding in Ellisville. 18 minutes blank on the tape. What's going on? We'll discuss next.
John Deal, House Majority Leader, was a late scratch at post time, so we apologize. Jay Kanzler is filling in for Tony Messenger, who was an early scratch, and Jane Dueker, former Chief of Staff of Governor Holden. Jay, before we go any further, let's give a plug to your movie, 23 Minutes to Sunrise, which is now at Netflix, correct?
It is now. It's been on Netflix and in Redbox, but it is now, as of last week, iTunes, Google Pay, all of the online platforms that people might go out and try to stream movies on. It is now there for the watching. 23 Minutes to Sunrise, starring Eric Roberts and Nia Peoples.
And it's and you.
And me as a police officer.
You as a police officer in Sauget. And quickly, give a quick synopsis of the movie.
It is a film noir fantasy thriller involving questions of everlasting life and what you would do and would you want it.
It's great. 23 Minutes to Sunrise, where all fine movies are downloaded and stolen.
Yes, okay. And I just found it. But another thing, it won Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Actress this past weekend at the Wild Rose Independent Film Festival.
How about that? Is it going to be in the St. Louis Film Festival?
It was in last time. I have a short film in the St. Louis International Film Festival called Chocolate Coins Rider.
How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
Congratulations, Jay. That's spectacular.
23 Minutes to Sunrise. Find it at all fine websites near you. 23 Minutes to Sunrise. You'll see a lot of people you know filmed in Sauget and a lot of famous people there as well. Jane Dueker, you are connected to the Ellisville story tangentially or actually directly, depending on who you talk to. The story comes out this morning that there's not document shredding, but document
deletion.
What's going on here?
Well, it seems that when the city manager, Kevin Bookout, was suspended first, he's since been terminated, that not long after his suspension, city documents turned up deleted, obscured.
Do we know what city documents?
Some of them, I think, and they've sent it to, that independent investigation to try to see what they can recover as far as the hard drive. But it wasn't long that the assistant city manager, who's now the acting, went in to find certain documents and couldn't find them. And so while it just came out, I think the story has been going on for a while. And so they had to send the computers away to try to determine and develop evidence as to what's gone and, try to limit suspects.
Can they get them back? Can they get these documents back?
That's a good question. I don't think they have revealed all the ins and outs of what they've determined. We saw a little bit of it today in the news about they know some of them, but some of it, there was encryption software used. This wasn't just haphazard, I'm going to go in and delete some emails. This was cover-up.
This was not Nixon's secretary hitting the wrong button?
Exactly. And it's not just an accidental delete here. And so figuring that out, and they know the times. They know that it wasn't done remotely. They know that most of the council was gone. But, the disturbing part about this story is, which I unfortunately think is sort of a culture in smaller cities, governmental bodies, who think that these documents are just for them, for their use. They're not. They're public records. They're the taxpayers', documents. And I just don't think that there is a sufficient amount of teeth in the Sunshine Law to enforce what the public is entitled to, is to have these documents preserved and available.
Why is it so important for the public to see these documents and have them?
Well, people are entitled to know if what their government is doing, how tax dollars are being spent. I mean, it's a fundamental of our democracy that transparency in government, be enforced. And
it's all right to know what the Ellisville city manager is doing.
Well, presumably, but there were forms and public documents that they know were public documents that were removed.
Okay, just as long as I get it, that we have a constitutional right to know what Kevin Bookout's computer says.
Correct. Not watching a grisly execution.
Not watching the state execute somebody.
And if you think those are analogous, again, I say that's creepy.
Jay Kanzler, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, again, and I've said this before here, that this is endemic, a cultural thing that, when you are elected, I don't care whether you're elected to the school board or as president of the United States, you are elected, you are given the privilege of serving, the people you represent. It is not your place. It is not your government. It's not your business. It's not your computer. You have the privilege of being there. And somehow this has gotten all twisted around in Ellisville and elsewhere, that these folks work for themselves, their own side deals, their own future interest. It's really rather scary. And until we, as the people making the decisions as to who we elect, start to hold them responsible and say, do you get it? You work for me, not vice versa. We're going to have this stuff.
And frankly, it needs to be easier to sue public officials when they withhold and when they don't protect documents. There's, the Sunshine Law could use some more teeth. And if the government can't enforce it, then you have to let private people do it.
All right. Speaking of a similar topic that came out over the last couple of days, you two, Jay, you ran for office. You were, Jane, you're big into politics and understand how this works. Can you explain to me exactly what Stephen Webb from Florissant did that was so wrong?
Well, it's interesting because, obviously you don't have all the facts. You have, sort of what was released.
Somebody gave him money.
Somebody gave him money and, checks moved and, do I honestly believe that he stole money? I don't. Do I believe the record keeping was absolutely and utterly sloppy?
But somebody gave him a check for $3,000,
right?
And then he used it for personal use.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what that is and whether, I don't think any of the people who gave him money felt like their money was not used for the purpose they gave it to him. He was going to go to the Congressional Black Caucus meeting. I'm not saying it's right, but I mean, when you're talking about prosecution, please tell me that,
but
people who've been moving money like that.
But what did he do? What did he do that was wrong?
Campaign finance violations. You can't use campaign money for private use. You can't, you have to keep everything segregated. I mean, we had the same problem with Robin Wright Jones, who was buying shoes.
That's right.
With her campaign money and jewelry. And, she didn't get prosecuted. And not to say that either of those are right.
But hold on a second. Here's what I'm getting at.
What are we picking here?
Jay, you want to jump in here?
Well, I wanted to say two things. First of all, in Tony's messenger's absence, I will bash the Post-Dispatch for saying in their editorial that the go-to place for the editorial page seems to be, well, the Republicans do it. That was their editorial. This is something the Republicans
they do. Well, they just do better paperwork, but they take all the stuff from lobbyists and they do the paperwork better.
That misses the point here. When you become a public servant, you have responsibilities. It's a privilege. One of the responsibilities is you account for the money that is donated and contributed to your campaign, and you don't use that for your personal your car payments, your flights, your vacations, your strippers, whatever it is. You don't do that. And when you do that, you should know that the government's going to come down on you and prosecute you. I applaud the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, anybody who goes after folks that have violated that public trust.
Okay, well, I agree with you in theory. And yet, if a politician gets money and doesn't disclose it and account for it correctly, guilty is charged. But when Tim Jones or any other politician can take tickets from an entity, take his wife, have his campaign reimburse the lobbyist who gave him the tickets, and
what's the difference?
And then scrub that from his records, what is the difference?
There is no difference.
I'd like to, and they should
why,
ban them. Just ban the lobbyist
why,
gifts.
Right. Why do we permit it?
Right,
McGraw,
exactly.
Why do you, Jay, and I, and the folks
The
in
citizens.
this room, why do we allow that to happen? Why don't we say, knock it off?
Right.
Knock it off. No more lobbyist gifts. Because you know what? Trying to do the paperwork and trying to do the dance and doing the laundering and all that, it's garbage. And the bottom line is people don't have confidence in people who take a lot of money from lobbyists.
Correct.
Why don't we just stop it?
And
Not hard.
Here's the other thing I don't understand. The lobbyists, dinner, lunch, dinner. I mean, you've down in Jefferson City. Is there nowhere else to eat except through a lobbyist?
Right.
I mean, put a
I
Subway
can't
shop
dispute.
in the middle of the Capitol.
Oh, no, there's a nice cafeteria there.
Well, I mean, what are these people? It's unbelievable.
Well, they don't want to pay for it. I mean, we're not. It's not that they're not gonna stop eating. I mean, but they just don't want to pay for it, and it's so much easier to just say no. No, you get campaign contributions.
This guy,
okay,
this guy's name is raked through the coals because he didn't
Right.
put it in the right line item.
Well, I think
Right.
that understates what was going on.
Maybe, but you know what? But I also don't think that it's that different than the laundering and the moving around on committees. Tim Jones set up a separate corporation with some sort of, money and contributions that he received, and Ethics Commission never saw it, never did boo. And so I'm not defending, but I also think that, I don't think he went out there to criminally defraud anybody. I think he did his paperwork badly, and that's not okay. They should be trained. They should know it better. They should do it better. But reporting is a nightmare because of all these games. It's real easy to report when you're not allowed to get lobbyist gifts. There's nothing to report. There's no mistake to be made.
That's Jane Dueker. That's Jay Kanzler. We'll come back, wrap things up, 9:50
This hour
KTRS.
of McGraw Live in the Morning was presented by Weber Chevrolet, with 4 locations to serve you. Online at weberchevrolet.com.
9:52, our parting shots. We'll start with Jay Kanzler.
My parting shot has to do with bullying in the NFL. When did we all come to the realization that these very large, very tough, very macho alpha male men, might bully one another in the locker room? I think we need to kind of relax a little bit and realize that this is not something new. This is something that has come to light in this particular situation. It doesn't make it right, but this is not. This is not Watergate. This is not, anything that needs to be turned into, a daily investigation on the news.
I think it goes to show you that bullying can happen anywhere, any place, anytime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jane, final thoughts on anything?
No, I just want to reiterate that I think that hopefully when John Deal comes back, we can have a discussion with him about strengthening the Sunshine Law.
And allowing open access to government and all that they do.
Right, not killing. Right.
Except executions. Okay.
Basically, yeah.
Good, fair enough. Because, God forbid, we actually... Now, let me get this straight. There are representatives, people there that view it, and they're there to represent the people of Missouri.
Correct. They are there to make sure that that the process follows what it should follow, and
Right.
there are representatives.
Gotcha. But they're doing that for me because they know better than I can't handle that.
Just like your legislators do a lot of things for you
Right.
that you may or may not agree
Right.
with.
But just because I can't be trusted to watch that.
No, it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of turning it into a circus.
Yes. Oh, because government's not a circus already.
I think kicking it up a notch with executions in public, that's a different level,
That's,
even for us.
That's Jane Dueker. She, former chief of staff of Governor Holden, also local attorney. Jay Kanzler, your movie, 23 Minutes to Sunrise. Where can we find it?
On all those platforms where you get downloaded videos like iTunes, Google Play, Amazon.
Great.
Former auditor candidate, former current attorney, current filmmaker, and current in the market for some new health insurance.
Yes, I am.
Because Obamacare tells you yours wasn't good enough.
It was not. It didn't help me at all,
All right.
even though I was paying lots of money for it.
Clearly,
That's a shame.
Clearly it was wrong. Clearly
right.
you were wrong, and we'd love to tell you why, but we feel it's in your best interest that we don't share that with you.
Right.
We'll tell other people why it was wrong, but not you.
Awesome.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, what are you doing? It's the Boomer Bash at Busch Stadium. Starts 11, runs till 3. Bring the whole family. Get your picture taken with the World Series trophy. Fred Bird, Rams cheerleaders, KTRS personalities. Play around in the photo booth. Enter to win Missouri prizes of basketball signed by Coach Haith, Coach Pinkel, Missouri tickets, Cardinal tickets, opening day tickets. It's all free. You also discover resources for seniors, boomers, families, and vendors, and exhibits from the field of healthcare, finance, travel, and, of course, home remodeling. It's this weekend at Busch Stadium. Go to KTRS.com for more information. Click on the Boomer tab Expo. So all you need to know about the 2013 Boomer Bash is right there. It's Sunday. It's 11 to 3. It takes place at the Redbird Club inside Gate 2. The Boomer Bash is brought to you by Heisey Advisory Group, Life Care Centers of Florissant, and the Big 550 KTRS. This hour will be put up on the web so that everybody will have access to it. Every single person will be able to view this at their own pleasure. And if you don't want to, that's fine too, because we believe in an open and honest news media. Go to KTRS.com. Go to STLtoday.com. You can watch it with our 4 HD cameras. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. We'll do it all again tomorrow. A $2.